Right, welcome back to the channel and another video on the Transit. So it's now bank holiday weekend, it's nearly 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm only just starting, to be fair. What I'm looking to do in this video is get the engine back out, sort of prove the concept. I'm having a lot of problems though getting the engine started. So I've ordered a new fuel filter, I'm hoping that's going to sort it. If not, it might be the fuel pump. So I'm going to put a little squirt of brake cleaner or easy start into the inlet. Starts up on the button, so it seems to be a fuel issue. So that's got to be sorted. Heater box is going to have to come out. The wiring needs looming up. The air conditioning doesn't seem to turn on properly, but that might be down to the pressure. But the heaters are blowing hot all the time, they don't blow cold air. So I'm wondering if I need to put an electronic valve on, because when I took out the electric preheater, I think it had a couple of valves, so I need to get a manual or some wiring to have a look into that, but that can be sorted after all the welding's done. So the idea is now, if I show you, need to sort out the hole in the floor. I'm actually going to change most of this floor pan, because I need to mount the pedal. There's been a rough previous repair here, and all the way down, so I'm going to put new steel in there and part way up here. I'm going to do the same on that side. Take this out, I'll make the new panels to go in there, but I'm going to put the fixing sort of like there and down there, so that it can be done with the steering column in place. On the front, chassis leg there needs welding. There's a couple of little patches around here, and then I need to refit the bulkhead, so that needs to go back in. And then I'm going to double up where the servo and master cylinder fits. What I've done here is, this is the BMW servo and master cylinder, but I've put the cap off the Transit on, so hopefully I can get a working light on, because it wasn't, it was the opposite way around, and I needed like a relay and stuff for the BMW one. We need to cut off these and move one of them across. The arch is ruined on here. Eventually I'm going to need to replace the light surrounds. There's a hole down there as well, but that's not going to be this time round, that's going to be in the future, because I do need to put new arches on again. I'll swap the wings, even though they're okay, just for it's easier, and a load of welding needs sorting around this area, but that again won't be in this video. The seats, I need to put some captive bolts, so I've got some bolts ordered from Screwfix, so I'm going to put some M8 nuts welded to a washer and weld the washer to the underneath of the truck, so that I've not got to mess around getting underneath. There's a tiny little hole by a seatbelt mount, seatbelt, can't remember what they're called, one of them that goes there. Now that's not going in again because it's built into the seats, but I still need to weld up the hole, and I will keep the thread in just in case. Need to weld up that there, so I'll probably put a little bit of a swage in, or a couple of dimples or something like that. Heater box is going to have to come back out, and then over there, that all wants looming up nice and neatly, as well as here. If anyone's got a nice headlining for sale, I need a headlining. So hopefully this bank holiday weekend I'll at least get some welding started. Quick update where I'm up to. So I've got everything loosened off underneath, the props off, everything like that. It's only took maybe an hour at the most. I've got it full extension though, so I'm going to have to just lift this bit off, or potentially I might just drop the truck down actually. It's just on the airbags, just to get the engine out. This seems to be the easiest way to do it, so if I lift it really high, I can slide it back in, and as you can see there's my gearbox mount, which it slides in and out of absolutely fine. The mount for the gear selector, if I can focus in, is just there, so that can stay in position as well. I did take the selector off the back of the gearbox, that seems to be the easiest way. I need to sort out the reverse switch, so while this is out, I'll weigh up how to wire the reverse switch into the truck, because I may have cut the cables down there. I think I did anyway, which is no real problem. See here what I've got to do with the bulkhead now. But essentially, the inner bulkhead is done, just got to clean it up, clean all the wells, prime it, etc. And then I need to make the bowl again, which is where the air from these vents here feeds in, and then that bit there is the drain, so that any water that gets in drains out there, which is why I put that extra strip up. The extent of the welding can now be seen. Obviously I've got to get the pedals out again, so today is more or less just going to be stripping it down. I might as well drop this back down on the ground actually, because I do need to pull it forward so it can fit in the garage again. It's sticking out the back again by a couple of foot. Then I'll get it up in the air again and get it ready so that I can basically spend the next couple of days, if I spend both days anyway, a few nights and potentially next weekend doing all the welding, getting all that ready. Not sure what to do with the inside yet. I think I'm going to get some white Gravitex. I've used that on previous projects, and it's a nice rubber coated waterproof finish, so it's inevitable water's going to get into the floor pan. So what I'm thinking is if I Gravitex the whole floor, it'll be like a bit of a swimming pool, and I'll just put a couple of drain holes in it. The amount of work this thing does on the road is low, but the amount of time it just sits in the rain is high. So I'm thinking if I've got the Gravitex, I've got a few holes in, what I'm going to get coming through the bulkhead, through the doors, etc., and leaking into the truck is going to be better off going out rather than worrying about what's going to actually go in. But I could always put some little cups underneath as well just to stop that. So something to think about, something that I'm going to have to think about. So anyway, I'll pull this out of the way and then well basically I'll show you what I need to do. Oh, before I do actually, you can see I tried out the Land Rover V8 engine mounts. They work an absolute treat. I may just have to put, because the bottom of the brackets is just at an ever so slight angle, I might just have to put a little bit of a wedge in, but that's no problem. As you can see here now, with the truck down on the ground, the engine at full height of my lift clears the cross member. So this is how I'm going to put it back in again when it comes to it. Because I struggled like mad to get the engine into the bay. So doing it this way now, I know I can slip it in, jack up the truck on the airbags and do it that way. So I'll just twist this round. It's a shame I can't just store it like this, but I haven't got the space. So I'll get this down on the ground now. I'll put it on some wheels, I think. Hopefully. Oh, perfect. Can wheel that under my bench, or over to the bench anyway. So we're out the bay. try to do this as good as I possibly can. I'll be doing the airbox delete as well. Don't know if it'll be in this video, it might be in the next one, but I've bought a part to do that with, so I'll get that done as well. We'll make some mounts up for fuel filter, fuel pump. I've got a new fuel filter coming hopefully today from Amazon as well. So I'll get this out the way anyway and I'll show you where I'm up to then. To give you a little bit of an update on where I'm up to. So it's taken me quite a while to get to this point, but basically I had a little rust patch here. There was actually nothing really bad over the engine mount, just a little bit of scraping. But as I dug further, it was totally rotten. So I had to take top section off. Luckily, I can mirror this one. And then after that, it wasn't really bad underneath, but it was quite bad. So I've taken all of it off up to this area. I'm going to actually remove that as well, because I don't need that either, but I may throw that back in. And I'm going to cut all that inner wing out all the way up to just past where the brake line goes in. And when I put this new top piece on with a bend on, I'll re-spot that weld all the way down and obviously butt weld it all the way across. This side, although it's ugly, is structurally sound, so I'm probably going to believe in that. I am deliberating over whether just to take this section out again and spot weld it to the original piece. I might do that depending on how straightforward this one is, just to sort of future proof the wing, if you like, or the inner arch, because the top of it I did last year for the MOT and that's now structurally sound. I mean, in an ideal world it wants full arches, but that's not the position I'm in at the moment. I need this back out on the road, so doing that, pretty straightforward. I need to gusset this section here. There is a tiny little hole there which I'm going to have to take, which is why I'm going to take that back off. And then down there's a hole, so I also need to cut a section out there and put some metal in there. So the inner arch I'm going to do in 1mm plate, and then this bit I'm going to do in 2mm, and probably the reinforcing piece I'll do in 2mm as well. Just make sure that's all nice and strong. This is how the bulkhead section's looking now. So not even thought about it. I'm deliberating over how to do this. So I may extend that bit up a little bit, or I may just drop that bit down. That's probably going to be the most straightforward option. Just bring down the original bit just a touch and just fill in that corner. Because I destroyed the old piece, I'm going to have to refabricate that anyway. So it's getting there anyway. It's just, let's say, chipping away at it. The spring hanger has got a hole straight through, so I'm going to cut that section all the way out there up to where the towing point is, drop down, cut that out and across, make that in 2mm plate, and then do the inside again in 2mm plate to rebuild that back up. There's no point in putting or try to get a new spring holder, because from what I understand they're rubbish. I'll try and throw some beads in. Don't know if it'll do the 2mm though. I'll give it a go though. I suppose I'll find out when I try and remake this piece. This job has definitely grown arms and legs, so let me show you. Cut the bad section out the spring hanger, hoping to fabricate it and refabricate the chassis leg. The chassis leg's also got a little bit of corrosion down there, so that's what I'll have to do, is just cut the chassis leg down the centre. The other side seems okay, but the spring hanger is gone on the top as well. I think it's spring hanger, the suspension mount anyway. So I'm not entirely sure where to go with this now. I might have to get a front suspension mount if I can get hold of one, or I'll chop that out and see if I can refabricate the section that goes into it and then do the top, but then it's bad on the other side as well. So if I'm sure you can get them, if I can just put a new one on, is that going to be the best bet? So I think I'm going to go inside now and have a look. It's now day 2 and basically I've been deliberating over what to do. Hopefully you can see, but I'm going to need to try and get a new spring hanger, or back in the day it was a spring hanger from what I understand. Now the towing hook, obviously it goes on this section, let me show you. Look, the towing eye goes there, so ideally that one's sorted. I mean, this isn't actually needed from there other than to tie into the chassis leg. So my options are either remake this or buy one. They're only about 30 quid, but it's hoping that one comes. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to chop off the full chassis there, and I'm going to leave all this intact, and I'm going to chop off the cross member here to down there, and basically I'm going to remake the cross member to where I want it and attach it onto this front panel. I'm going to plate the back of that and bring this over here as well, and then I will remake the chassis leg, so it will cut out that section there. So I'll remake the chassis leg into this section, and with a bit of luck I can get a mount. Now I'm not too concerned about moving it around for a while because it's only got the mount for the anti-roll bar there, I think, but I do need to just cut that full section off. I also need to get it up in the air, get the wheel and tyre off, and I'm going to carry on taking that section all the way back to the bulkhead, because as you can see, hopefully it's had some rough welding work done there. So I'm going to cut all that out as well. I'm also going to do this side, so I'm going to cut out from there, pretty much from where the brake line is, all the way across, cut out all this crap. I'm not going to bother with this. I don't think I'll just do it up to about here. Essentially what I want to do is just get it so that the inside tub is in nice condition and strong, because at some point I'm going to be changing these headlight surrounds and repairing the outer, the inner arch there when the wings come off. So at another time that whole front there is going to be replaced with the wings. I just haven't got the time to do that at the moment. I've got too much on. So this way it's just cutting out. So essentially all I'm going to have to do is take the aircon rad off and the radiator, and then I've got loads of space to do all that work at a later date, and all the inner bits, the engine bay for example, is going to be done. I'm deliberating over whether to buy a chassis closing plate. I think Central Panels do one for 45 quid, so I'll probably make my own. It's not a hard thing to make, just wants doubling up, essentially mirroring the other side where the engine mount is. But basically all that is a plate that goes over with a couple of bead rolls in the end to match there. I might just have to put a hole in rather than elongated holes, and a bend down. I'm not convinced I'm going to be able to use the shrinker stretch on the 2mm plate, but I'll try. Things like this I'm not concerned about because I'm going to have loads of access again, like I say, when I do the front. So I've just been screw fixed. I've just got some long reciprocating blades. I'm basically just going to chop the chassis out and start working from there. My feeling is it's going to be easier to start from nothing than try and repair this. I can't see any of the spot welds. It's just an absolute pain in the arse, basically. So anyway, I'll set the tripod up today. I'll try and do a little bit of actual working, and you can see what I'm up to. As you can see, got the chassis leg cut out now. It's a pretty heavy piece of kit actually. I'm really hoping that I can get this piece, because it's sort of three pieces of steel thick, and it'll just be an absolute ball ache to try and fabricate for, I think, 25 quid. What I'm going to have to do now, as I said, I'm going to remake this cross member section. That's pretty straightforward. Got a little lip to make here. I'll make a chassis leg to come over, seam weld all that up, gusset the section onto here, and then start thinking about doing the inner arch. At that point I may have a look at making this top piece, but I don't think I've got enough 2.5mm steel to do that. Might not even have enough for the chassis leg, to be honest with you. Might have to check Facebook Marketplace and see if anyone's got any for sale. I've got loads of 1mm, so yeah, this won't work in 1mm though. It definitely needs to be 2. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing today. Stick this nut back in so it won't get lost as well. Luckily the subframe as well is sort of holding my position. Tiny bit of flex, but nothing that's going to matter. The truck didn't move either when I moved it, so yeah, a bit of a job I wasn't expecting, but it'll be solid forever then. So this is the cardboard template I've made for this first section. So basically that fits in there and will go up, and then just cut it out into 2mm steel, which is quite a bit thicker than what's in there already. I think that's only 1mm, but I want the extra strength. So I'm going to fold this now. I'll top it off with 1mm, but this should strengthen right the way up. So that'll sit in there. Got a little bit to take off there, so we'll just go and fold this. So if you've not seen it, this is my homemade metal bender. I've got a sort of shop bought one there. It's been modified a little bit for doing thin stuff, but my thick one is here. So it's a 20-ton air press, and just basically angle iron. And 2mm steel is absolutely nothing to it. as you can see. So let's try that out now. Might have slightly overbent actually. Yeah, it's a bit overbent that, so I'll just knock that back out again. Yeah, to make that work, so I just need to trim a little bit off that angle there. But the belt sander should be able to do that. Which it has. And that's looking pretty good. Everything else can just be filled with weld. See if we get a little bit of the rust out here. I normally wouldn't put a bead quite that thick, but I wanted it to make sure it bridged the gap and penetrated everywhere, and I'm pretty sure that has. So next thing I'm going to do is run a straight edge across from there to here, and again from there to there, and then we'll just trim that top off. Then what we'll do is we'll box in the top and the front. I'll probably do that in one piece, that's just going to be in 1 mil. I am going to put a hole in it there and there on this side, just so that I can access it with some wax oil or anti-corrosion, or something along them lines. We'll then just do a couple of little bits, like we'll remake this little corner on the headlights around, and if I've got enough material, which I'm not sure I have, I'll try and make the chassis rail so that we know that's nice and solid as well. Right, so to match up with the other side, I've put a hole in it, and that essentially is going to fit there, and then obviously, as I mentioned, I'm going to box in the front and I put another hole in the front. Now the only problem is, I've got to move the tripod over, this hole here has got a swage in it, so what I've done is 3D printed this. So I'm hoping, I'd sand it just to give myself a bit of clearance, but I'm hoping this is going to give me the swage that I want. Have a look. So we'll go and have a look now. So I'm just going to use my baby press for this one. So I've got some control. But the way that we want it, that's the front there. So we want the dimple facing downwards. So put that way, that way. This is the bit that I think you press down on, so what I'll do, I'll put that right over there and then put that onto distribute, and then let's see what we end up with. And that's about it. Say that's worked. And it's not perfect, but hopefully I'll get better at it. And maybe if I'd have done a slightly smaller hole or made this slightly bigger, but it'll definitely work. This hole's a little bit bigger than the other side, but it's not actually getting used for anything anyway. It's just more so that I can feed some sort of wax oil in. So I think I'll get a couple of tacks on that, and then we can look at either making the chassis rail, which I'm hoping I've got enough gear for, or we'll look at doing the back of the cross member. That just wants some tacking onto it, it's just spot welds. So yeah, let's get that tacked on. So this piece of steel So this piece of 2mm here is all that I've got left. So we've got the length that we need, oh sorry, the width we need, and 30.5, so yeah, got enough. In fact, I'm wondering, I've got 30.5 there, I think we'll do it that way. Let's mark off this. So I've got the chassis rail in place. It still needs squeezing together a little bit, but the fit is quite nice. Everything seems okay. So what I need to do is put a really thick, nice beader weld on the bottom, both ends, and then I'll use clamps to clamp it together a little bit, and it should raise the height a little bit as well. What I want to do now, because I need the hanger for this before I can weld it in, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to slip it up or whether I'm going to need to finesse it a little bit. But I think this is 1mm plate here. I can make this finishing piece to come down here, which will mean I can start working on the inner wing. So what I need to do is just see how thick this is. I've got a feeling it is just 1mm. 1.5. Oh, 0.9. There you go. Yeah, so it's 1mm. So what I think I'll do, it's going to be easier to just measure this rather than trying to do some sort of template. So I'll measure it off this side. What I do need to do though, when I put this second, it has like a second layer on it, which is this. I need to make sure I get these curves into the first layer. I've kept the captive nuts, but I think I've got some more somewhere in that size, so hopefully I'll be able to sort that. Still need to finish welding the engine mounts as well. So let me measure up and start cutting this out to size. Here's where I'm up to so far with this chassis closing plate. It's all pretty much sized. I've just got to put a 90-degree bend going down on that, but I wanted to get everything else in place first because it's got a bit of an upwards curve, so I am going to have to stretch it a little bit once it's bent. I'm just about to now make 2 holes in each of these and then elongate them, and then I'll do a bead roll across so that I can match up with that side, and then I'll just throw a couple of holes in just like they have done here. I don't need all of them, I just want to put a couple in. I'll just put them big ones in just again so that we can get the chassis leg wax oiled. I'll probably put one up at the end actually and maybe make one on that side. Once I've then got that in place, I will make the strengthening piece, which goes just across there. It's only a small piece, you can see it on this side. They're exactly the same, so just got a strengthening piece there to make. Put some captive nuts on it for the engine mount, and then that piece is ready to go. Obviously can't fit it yet because I need the suspension mount first, but I can get everything prepped so I can put all my holes in. I've got one more hole I need to put in there just to match up with the one underneath as well. Right, it's chipping away at this still. I've done my elongated holes. I've put the bend on it. I've still got to stretch this just so it's got a bit of an arc on it. But first, I just want to put these beads in. So I've swapped my bead roller to the thickest beads I've got. And then what we're going to do is just start in the middle, quite light. And get these beads in. And now they are quite deep. Top one. So I've sort of shown myself now where I need to get with it, so I can just crank this straight down. So that's the bead rolls in it. Bit of, I think it's a crumple zone, to be fair. We'll go and put the, or I'll go and do it. I'll not follow you for that. I'll not bring you through for that one. I'll just go and put the swage on that as well, and then we'll start fitting this up. Alright, so this is the piece that I've made. Fits quite nicely. I need to just flatten that where I've just got a little bit of a bend and just take a little nip out at the end. But you can see I've got my bead rolls in there. This needs to come further over, and it will when I knock the chassis leg over. But there's a big gap here, so I've marked off there where I need to stretch this lip. So I'm just going to do a little stretch on that now, and hopefully it'll sit down. So here's my homemade panel. Just got to open up them holes a little bit. That's the original one on the driver's side. I think I've got it pretty close. Just need to weld it across there. As I say, I've stretched it so it fits really nicely with the contours now. Just got to make this next section, it's like an extra strengthening piece, which is going to go across there, the same as that one. And then I'll have like a kit of parts to fit. I've had to take this off because that's going to need quite a bit of manipulation. But I want to make sure I've got everything else ready. On the inside, hopefully I can show. Maybe not. There you go. That's where the inner wing, or inner arch, should I say, will go down. So you can see the stretching that I've done to put the curve on it as well from there. So I'll make that piece tonight, and then I think I'll call it a day at that. And then tomorrow's Bank Holiday Monday. Tomorrow I'll try and get this bit in. I'll get the wheel off and I'll weld that in all the way across, so that we'll have that piece ready. I know where I can connect it up to that, so as long as I cut it the right size, everything will fit. And then hopefully by next weekend I'll have my new subframe mount, and that'll be good to go. But it's looking good. I'm pleased. Just made up this next piece now. Still got to put the captive nuts on, but I'm gonna do it in order. So I want to do, obviously, the chassis rail. This will go on, and that'll go on last, because it stitches over the closing plate. Gonna do a couple of holes in this. I'm not gonna do any in that, even though the original has, and I could easily do them, but it's just another place water can get trapped behind, so I'm not gonna bother. And I'll seam seal around that as well. So that's that. That's gonna be the end of the video. Basically just a day's worth of work. Tomorrow I'm going to crack on with closing in that inner wing and doing a few bits and pieces on that. Hopefully I'll get my chassis piece or the suspension mount by next weekend, so that I can crack on and get that done. So much to do on this that wasn't in the plan when I took the engine out to put the BMW engine in.